Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Respected guest, Dr. Arshad Warsi teacher of English, Justice High School, AMU Aligarh, Dr. Department of Chemical Engineering, AMU Aligarh. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Following the beautiful tradition of Islam that we initiate every program with the recitation of Allah's word, that is Quran, I invite our one of the brother Mohd, who is the student of B.tech second year for the same, Mohd.
Now, I request the guest as well as judge of this event, this debate competition, Dr. Idris Sahab and Dr. Arshad Warsi Sahab on the stage. I myself, Arshad Warsi, a student of B.tech, third year mechanical of the same college, University. Once again, welcome you all to this particular event, that is the debate competition of this college-based paradigm of ZHCET College of Engineering and Technology. As you all know, the topic of the debate is nationalism, a threat to global peace and brotherhood. Frankly speaking, as a student and as a citizen of India, as well as of this world, I feel really an immense pleasure and very much thankful to Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that He provided me strength to choose such a topic which was very controversial. It has always been a controversial. This is the clear, this is the current is the scenario when the people have considered the nation as their God. I will start this particular event by sharing few practical aspects of my life. I think if I would say no to it, then there will be no problem. तो कुछ यूँ हुआ कि इस टॉपिक को चूज करने की जरूरत हमें क्यों पड़ी। सबसे पहली बात मैं शुरुआत इस तरह से करना चाहूँगा कि ज़ाहिर कंपटीशंस होते हैं, इवेंट्स होते हैं, कुछ लोग प्राइज के लिए आते हैं, कुछ लोग सर्टिफिकेट्स के लिए आते हैं, कुछ लोग अपने सीवी को अच्छा करने के लिए आते हैं। बट मैं अपने खुले दिल से बता दूं कि मेरा मकसद इस इवेंट को कराना, इस टॉपिक को चूज करना बिल्कुल इसलिए नहीं था कि लोग कुछ अच्छे से सर्टिफिकेट्स यहाँ लेके चले जाएं, कुछ प्राइजेस यहाँ से लेके चले जाएं और अपने सीवी को मजबूत कर लें। हमारे इस डिबेट कंपटीशन का, इस टॉपिक को चूज करने का एक मकसद है और वो हम सभी के साथ कुछ ना कुछ वाक़यात होते हैं। एज एन ऑर्गेनाइजर ऑफ दिस इवेंट, मैं इस ज़ाहिर ये डिबेट कंपटीशन है तो मैं इसके ना तो सपोर्ट में कुछ बोल सकता हूँ और ना ही अगेंस्ट में, ज़ाहिर मुझे न्यूट्रल रहना पड़ेगा। बट फिर भी कुछ जो है अपने व्यूज़ होते हैं तो बस मैं अपना एक व्यू पेश करके और फिर पार्टिसिपेंट को इंशाल्लाह इनवाइट करूँगा। तो हम इस दुनिया में रहते हैं, बहुत से जो है कबीले होते हैं, बहुत से नेशंस होते हैं, उर्दू में इसका वतन कहते हैं, हिंदी में देश कहते हैं। इसी दुनिया में एक वतन है जहाँ पे हर लम्हे हक व बात की लड़ाई होती रहती है, राइटनेस और फॉल्सहुड की लड़ाई होती रहती है। हर लम्हे मासूमों के, बच्चों के, औरतों के खून बहाए जाते हैं और उस पर आवाज़ उठाने वाला, बोलने वाला कोई नहीं। पिछले रमज़ान में एक वाक़या हुआ जब इसी दुनिया का एक छोटी सी जगह है, छोटा सा वतन है जिसे फिलिस्तीन कहा जाता है और वहीं पे एक इज़राइल है। आप सभी शायद वाकिफ होंगे क्योंकि आप बहुत ही पढ़े लिखे इंटेलेक्चुअल्स हैं। तो होता यूँ है कि जाहिर है कि जो है कभी इंसान और इंसानियत के दर्द होता है, सबके दिलों में दर्द होता है। तो सब लोग फेसबुक यूज़ क्या करते हैं, उस पर कवर फोटो होते हैं, प्रोफाइल पिक्चर्स होते हैं। तो जब वो पर्टिकुलर इंसिडेंट होता है इजराइल और फिलिस्तीन का, तो फेसबुक पे मैं अपना कवर फोटो फिलिस्तीन के फ्लैग के साथ लगा देता हूँ। फिर कुछ दिनों बाद जो है मेरे पास कई कॉल्स आते हैं और लोग मुझे बोलते हैं कि तुम देश के साथ गद्दारी कर रहे हो। मैं बहुत कंफ्यूज हूँ, मुझे नहीं मालूम कि ये वतन परस्ती, ये नेशनलिज्म वाकई थ्रेट है या नहीं। मेरे बहुत से सवाल हैं और जो मेरा मकसद है वो इंशाल्लाह पूरा होगा। वो सवाल मैं यहाँ पर एक ऑर्गेनाइजर के तौर पे, एक होस्ट के तौर पे लेकर आया हूँ और जब ये डिबेट कंपटीशन का खात्मा होगा, आपके व्यूज़ यहाँ पे पार्टिसिपेंट के व्यूज़ आएंगे और लोगों के व्यूज़ आएंगे, तो मैं ये दुआ करता हूँ कि ज़रूर हमारा जो मकसद होगा, जो मेरे सवाल होंगे वो क्लियर हो जाएंगे। अब बिला ताखीर के वक्त बहुत ज़्यादा हो चुका है, बातें बहुत सारी हैं, टॉपिक ऐसा है जो कभी ख़त्म ना हो। बट बिला ताखीर अब मैं इस प्रोग्राम का आगाज़ करना चाहूँगा और इस जो डिबेट का जो रूल है वो मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि टॉपिक आपको सब समझ चुके हैं, नेशनलिज्म अ थ्रेट टू ग्लोबल पीस एंड ब्रदरहुड। इसमें लैंग्वेज का कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है, देयर इज नो लैंग्वेज रेस्ट्रिक्शन, आप किसी भी लैंग्वेज में बोल सकते हैं। और अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारे जजेस इतने मैच्योर्ड हैं, इतने डायनामिक हैं कि आप किसी भी लैंग्वेज में यहाँ पर आकर बोलें, हिंदी, इंग्लिश का हो, इंशाल्लाह वो अच्छे से आपके साथ इंसाफ करेंगे, अच्छे से जज करेंगे इंशाल्लाह। लिहाजा ये इसकी टाइमिंग, डिबेट की टाइमिंग 5+1 मिनट है। जब आपके 5 मिनट हो जाएंगे तो पहली घंटी बज जाएगी, उसके बाद आपको 1 मिनट का और वक्त मिलेगा और उसके बाद जो है आपको 6 मिनट में मैक्सिमम इस अपनी बात को खत्म कर लेना है। आप जो है ये इंडिविजुअल डिबेट है, कुछ कन्फ्यूजन्स थे, मैं पार्टिसिपेंट को बता देना चाहता हूँ कि ये 2 टीम का डिबेट है, बट ऐसा नहीं है। यहाँ पे सिंगल पार्टिसिपेंट को पोडियम पे बुलाया जाएगा, वो अपनी जो भी बात होगी इस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड वो पेश करेंगे, या तो फॉर द मोशन यानी फेवर ऑफ द टॉपिक या अगेंस्ट द मोशन, मींस अगेंस्ट ऑफ द टॉपिक। फिर से मैं क्लियर कर देना चाहूँगा कि फेवर ऑफ द मोशन का मतलब ये है कि अगर आप फेवर करते हैं इस टॉपिक को, इसका मतलब ये है कि आप ये मानते हैं कि नेशनलिज्म इज अ थ्रेट टू ग्लोबल पीस एंड ब्रदरहुड। अगर आप इस टॉपिक के अगेंस्ट हैं तो इसका मतलब आप ये तस्दीक करते हैं कि नेशनलिज्म थ्रेट नहीं है, वतन परस्ती थ्रेट नहीं है, खतरा नहीं है ग्लोबल पीस एंड ब्रदरहुड के लिए। अब जो है मैं पार्टिसिपेंट को गाने से पहले जाहिर है मैं थोड़ा उर्दू से मेरा ज़्यादा लगाव है और मैं अल्लामा इकबाल को पढ़ा करता हूँ, उनके शेर को पढ़ा करता हूँ, तो उनके शेर मुझे याद आते हैं। लेकिन जाहिर है कि जो है मैं किसी एक पर्टिकुलर साइड में लेकर या तो फॉर द मोशन या अगेंस्ट द मोशन मैं नहीं बोल सकता, लेकिन मुझे उनका दो शेर ऐसे हैं जो फॉर द मोशन भी हैं और अगेंस्ट द मोशन भी है। वो अपनी एक जगह पे कहते हैं कि मजहब नहीं सिखाता आपस में बैर रखना, हिंदी है हम, वतन है हिंदुस्तान हमारा। वहीं दूसरी जगह वो बोलते हैं है चीनो अरब हमारा, हिंदुस्तान हमारा, है चीनो अरब हमारा, हिंदुस्तान हमारा, मुस्लिम है हम, वतन है सारा जहां हमारा, मुस्लिम है लिहाजा अब मैं पहले पार्टिसिपेंट, इस डिबेट के पहले पार्टिसिपेंट को यहाँ पे बुलाना चाहूँगा, जो कि B.tech सेकंड ईयर से हैं, नीरज कौशिक।
With the prior permission of Honorable Chair, I express my views on the topic, is nationalism a threat to global peace and brotherhood? I have a request for you, Honorable Chair. I request you to come along with me. In fact, I request you all, my worthy opponents, my seniors, my friends, to come along with me to a time in history. Let me introduce you to a man. This man has a charismatic personality, and he keeps a trademark rectangular moustache above his upper lip. He's a well-decorated former soldier. He sees that on one hand, his countrymen are suffering, are languishing, while on the other hand, some foreign races are living a good life in his land. So when he becomes the supreme leader of his country, his motherland that he loves, he throws those races in concentration camps where they are made naked, where their hair are sheared, and they are burned alive in gas chambers. He orders his army to invade Poland, to invade Austria, to invade Czechoslovakia, for he wants to rebuild the great German Empire. The great German Empire, the motherland that he loves. He orders his army to attack UK, to attack US, to attack Russia, to kill their men, to rape their women, because they had once insulted his motherland, the motherland that he loves. His countrymen rally behind him. They say, "Hail Führer! Hail Hitler!" For Adolf Hitler is a noble man. For Adolf Hitler loves Germany. For Adolf Hitler will rebuild the German Empire. For Adolf Hitler is a nationalist. Honorable Chair, nationalism is defined as loyalty and devotion to one's nation, especially a sense of national consciousness exalting superiority of one nation over all other nations, with primary emphasis over ideas, interests, and culture of only their country, despite of the fact that they might be opposite or hostile to other nations to supranational roots. Honorable Chair, this definition of nationalism is given in Oxford Dictionary. It matches with Merriam-Webster Dictionary and matches with Cambridge Dictionary as well. Yet, some of my worthy opponents will say that nationalism is simply one's love and devotion to country. nationalism is a form of patriotism. But I would like to clarify, Honorable Chair, that there is a subtle yet very important difference between patriotism and nationalism. While a patriot supports his country in what it does, on the other hand, a nationalist supports his country no matter what it does. While the first creates a feeling of responsibility, the second creates a feeling of blind arrogance that leads to war. As far as love is concerned, it was Hitler's love for Germany that led him and his party, the Nationalist Socialist Party, to fascism. It was Mussolini's love for Italy, for he wanted to rebuild the great Roman Empire back, that he attacked and went on war in Africa and Southern Europe. The problem with nationalists is that they believe that their country is better and the most important nation in the world, and the rest of the world is supposed to be subjugated by them. It was nationalist United States that attacked a third world country, not Vietnam, just because their ideology was different from them. They were supporting communism. And to a nationalist, Honorable Chair, an ideology, a way of life, a philosophy that is different from them is an enemy's philosophy. Honorable Chair, now let me introduce you this time to another man, this time in the present, for he also has a great personality, but he doesn't keep a weird mustache. He has also taken some drastic steps. He also loves his country, his motherland, that disintegrated in the early 1990s. He has taken some drastic steps, as I have already said. East Ukraine is burning. Crimea has been annexed. Honorable Chair, will this man also be successful in remaking the great Soviet Union empire? Will this man also be supported by his countrymen for his nationalism? Will this man will be the reason that world will again fall into an abyss? Honorable Chair, my heart is even frightened to think about the answer of this question. But I answer the question of this debate that yes, nationalism is a threat to global peace, security and brotherhood, and what we need is not nationalism. We need patriotism that promotes love for one's country with tolerance for others, that promotes a philosophy of live and let live. Thank you.
This was Neeraj Kaushik from B.tech who was speaking in favor of the motion. Now, I request Ms. Fatma Miraj, the second participant from MBBS. Fatma Miraj, is she here? Okay. Now going further, I would like to request the third participant of this event, Uma Khan, who is from MA English. Uma Khan, please.
Honorable Chairperson, today I am here to express myself on the topic, Nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood, and I stand for the motion. Nationalism can be defined both as a sentiment as well as an ideology. As a sentiment, nationalism can be defined as the attachment of an individual towards his nation. As an ideology, nationalism postulates that every particular state or a political organization should be formed on the basis of nationhood. Global peace is a planetary non-violence by which various countries decide to reconcile and cooperate with each other, either voluntarily or by the virtue of a system of governance that prevents wars or destruction. The crux problem with nationalism is that it takes its militant form and therefore it sows the seeds of destruction and non-cooperation between various nations, as a result of which the very institution of global peace and brotherhood is disintegrated. History is evident of the fact that Hitler professed the ideology that the Aryan race is the best race and it is meant to rule all over the world. This led to the propagation of racism in the name of nationalism. Another crucial problem with nationalism is that it hinders the smooth functioning of world federation as well as international cooperation. Many modern intellectuals assert the fact that every state is required to give a part of its sovereignty to the World Federation in order to maintain global peace. But nationalism does not allow this to happen. When nationalism takes its extreme form in any particular country, then that particular country is likely to invade other weaker countries. For instance, as it has already been mentioned by my opponent, that Hitler invaded various countries like Austria, Belgium, France, Russia, Holland, and Denmark, and of course, Mussolini invaded Ethiopia in 1935. The result of these collective invasions was the World War II in 1939 to 1945, which was marked by the deaths of millions of civilians, especially in the Holocaust, where near about 11 million people were killed. And the striking of the population centers and the industrial centers, where about 1 million people were killed. And yet again, the two nuclear weapon combats collectively resulting in the deaths of 50 to 85 million people. Honorable Chairperson, at this instant, the question that arises is that if nationalism is actually leading to bloodshed all across the globe, if nationalism is not able to provide even the basic security of life to its citizens, then how can we claim that nationalism is not a threat to global peace and security? Honorable Chairperson, at this instant, opening the doors on the subject of violence against nationalism is just like standing at the threshold of an immense dark chamber, vibrating with collective anguish, but with the sounds of protest throttled back to a murmur. This is undoubtedly a sad state of affairs and at the same time a stark reality. We all talk about world peace, but what we fail to understand is that in order to maintain global peace, the prerequisite is to eradicate the evil forces of unemployment, poverty, and hunger from all across the globe, rather than concentrating ourselves on the pseudo-epithet of nationalism. Honorable Chairperson, according to the statistics of 2014 given by the United Nations World Food Programme, nearly 805 million people are not able to afford food. So the question which now arises is that is it important for us to focus upon the pseudo-epithet of nationalism, or else we should lay our concentration upon mitigating these evil forces of unemployment, poverty, and hunger from all across the globe? History is evident of the fact that through Communist Manifesto in 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels brought the greatest socialist revolution in order to overthrow the oppressive forces of capitalism by the collaboration of millions of workers all across the globe. This socialist revolution would not have been possible if they would have concentrated themselves on nationalism and ignored international communism. Towards the closure, I would still be adamant about the fact that nationalism is undoubtedly a threat to global peace as well as brotherhood
So this was Suma Khan from me, which was speaking in favor of the motion that is nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood. When she was favoring the motion, I remember the Urdu couplets of Allama Iqbal, which he says, इन ताज़ा खुदाओं में बड़ा सबसे वतन है, जो खैर है उसका है, वो मजहब का कफन है, वो कैद मकामी तो नतीजा है तबाही, वो कैद मकामी तो नतीजा है तबाही, रहबर में आज़ादे वतन सूरत माही, गुफ्तारे सियासत में वतन और ही कुछ है, गुफ्तारे सियासत में वतन और ही कुछ है, इरशाद नबूवत में वतन और ही कुछ है. So this was Huma Khan. Now moving further, I would like to request our next participant of this event, Mr. Adil Iqbal, who is from B.tech second year. Adil Iqbal, please welcome.
Respected chairpersons and members of the audience, Assalamu alaikum. I am here to support the motion that nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood. Oxford Dictionary defines nationalism as extreme patriotism marked by a feeling of superiority over other countries. Now, what this feeling of superiority over other countries results in, I will present in 4 arguments. My first argument is that it inculcates in human being a feeling of hatred and inequality. Humans are equals and they all should be equal. But nationalism mandates that some humans are more equal than others, not on the basis of virtues and characters and morals, but mere lines on maps. This feeling of superiority then gives the more equal person the license to subjugate the less equal persons, which become evident during the when the Europeans enslaved millions of peoples, these very nationalists wiped out the entire Red Indians from the America, and nowadays this is becoming evident in a form of economic terrorism in which the so-called developed countries are not allowing the developing countries to develop, but are indeed bent upon exploiting their resources and for their own national interest. This was my first argument. My second argument is that it leads to unjustified foreign policies and wars. Nationalism today is a key element in modern politics. It is the driving force behind the vast majority of the wars and conflict present in today's world. For example, we all know about the atrocities of Israel on Palestine. But here in Parliament, when the debate will be held whether we should support Israel or whether we should go for Palestine, the debate will not be what is near to human morality and humanity. But they will debate that what is beneficial for our country, what is good for our own national interest, whether supporting India or supporting Israel or supporting Palestine. My third argument is that it leads to a nationalist is not only a source of danger for the people living outside the boundary of his country, but he is a source of danger. He can also prove to be a source of danger for the people living within his own country, which results in the persecution of minorities. When a nationalist feels that some people are holding a faith and a belief and ideas which are foreign to his country, then he goes after them. He started persecuting them. This becomes evident in the example of the persecution of Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, persecutions of Tamils in Sri Lanka, and now very close to even within our countries, in the northeastern states. This is evident from the persecution of the Muslims there, who are often alleged and dishonored as Bangladeshis. This definitely does not help in maintaining global peace and brotherhood. My fourth argument is that this ideology of nationalism is based on mere emotions and sentiment and does not have any sound ground. This ideology is irrational. This ideology is rationally illogical and morally unreasonable. A nationalist does not only consider his people living within his country superior to people living outside his country, but he even started to attribute the pebbles, the rivers and the mountains of his country as something which is superior to others. I cannot understand why Himalaya is greater than Alps, why Ganga is greater than Amazon or Nile, why pebbles of these countries are greater than the pebbles of other countries. What selfishness is at personal level, lobbyism is at regional level, nationalism is at international level. Here I would like to quote George Bernard Shaw, who said that that a nationalist does not only disapprove of the atrocities committed by his own side, but he has a remarkable capacity of even not hearing about them. Albert Einstein said that these are the reasons why Albert Einstein said that nationalism is an infantile disease which is a measles of mankind. This is why I goes for the motion that nationalism is a threat for the for peace and harmony of the world, and this is why I think every rational and moral person should do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adil Iqbal. So this was Adil Iqbal who was speaking in favor of the motion that nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood. I again remember an Urdu couplet of Allama Iqbal. He says, अक़वामी जहाँ में है रक़ाबत तो इसी से, तशकीर है मक़सूद तिजारत तो इसी से, खाली है सदाकत से सियासत से तो इसी से, कमज़ोर का घर होता है गारत तो इसी से, कमज़ोर का घर होता है गारत तो इसी से. Now, our next participant is Ms. Zoha Khan, who is from MBBS. Zoha Khan, please.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Zoha Khan. The topic for today's discussion is Nationalism, a threat to world peace and brotherhood. And I will go for the notion. Respected Chair, I believe those who cannot understand how to put their thoughts on ice should never enter into the heat of the debate. Moreover, today we are talking about world peace and brotherhood. So, I find every reason to proceed on the lines of coherence and understanding in the next few minutes. There is only one thing about the topic the little neurons inside my brain couldn't endure. That is the question mark. Yes. Nationalism, a threat to world peace and brotherhood? Question mark? There should rather be a full stop to it. To begin with, peace, a mighty word, comprises primarily of three basic components: social, political, and economic. And as for the stance of nationalism here, it fails on all the three frontiers. To support the above viewpoint, I won't take you far back, as the most recent example of nationalism occurred in Sri Lanka, where the Sinhalese and Tamils went on each other head to head, and the subsequent riots led to complete disruption of the country's economy. No one needs to be reminded of the countless bloodshed in Lebanon that costed so many lives. As for we the Asians, we still resist Russification and absorption. In the remote past, it has led to extremes of movements like Zionism and Nazism. Both of these groups have practiced ethical cleansing by killing people and sending them to concentration camps. Now you can imagine the extent a nation could go to achieve what is called as a pure culture. Nationalism can also spark unhealthy competition between nations, leading to warfare, as it did in case of World War I. Now, is it something that is actually needed? Does the country really need to have an all-white or all-black population in order to be a prosperous one? In order to be a happy one? No, certainly not. See, nationalism has got a very peculiar aspect. It does not allow diversity of opinions, and thus reducing citizens to mindless drones to be exploited by the government. See, simple nationalistic feelings, as far as they don't contribute with the higher conviction of man, like the affection
affection one feels for one's father, son, or family or listener. But nationalism does not stop at these simple sentiments. It is a socio-political creed and actually a way of life that aims at controlling people's individual and political life. Moreover, extreme is always a possibility once the doors to extremism, nationalism are open. I fail to understand why can't it just be like you progress, we give you a hand of support. When we progress, you stand behind with a grin of appreciation. Why can't we just grow up to cross these fences of petite ideologies and discard such rotten concepts like that of nationalism? I would like to conclude with a beautiful ayat from Al-Quran, which is surely an answer to all our concerns. It says, "O mankind, we created you from a single pair of man and woman, and made you into nations and tribes, so that you may know each other. Verily, the most honored amongst you in the sight of Allah is the one who's the most righteous." Ayat number 13, Surah Al-Hujr. Thank you.
Jazakallah. So this was Zoha Khan from MBS was favoring the motion, that is, nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood. Now going further, I would like to invite our next participant, Mr. Yasir Kazmi, who is from B.tech. Mr. Yasir Kazmi.
I'm going to speak for the topic. First of all, nationalism is a belief and political ideology that a person believes that they belongs to one nation. There are two types of nationalism which we occur in that occurs in the world. One is based on the affinity of the birth, from where the group of people came, from where their forefathers came from which race they belong to. And the next, the recent trends in which they were forced to become a nation, like India is after 1947. Now I want to make you aware about the whole world from east to west. Now, first of all, I would like to make you aware about the Korean Peninsula. Before 1945, it was under control of Japan, and after the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when the morale of Japan got down, then after that the Soviet Union army got control of the North Korea, and the US got control of the South Korea. In this way, after the UN resolution was passed, then the both northern part and southern part got freed. But the main matter there was the ideology. So Soviet Union has communist ideology and US has capitalist ideology. So the both country became free by having the different ideology as communist and capitalist. So even now, from that time till now, they were fighting. There were many wars, cold wars. There were several peace talks. There were several negotiation talks were held, but nothing happened because the history is evidence. When there is difference in ideology, then there is always a war, a conflict, or something like that. Then I want to make you aware of the India-Pakistan issue after the partition. Even now, we have with Pakistan there are 3 wars. We have with China 1 war. We have boundary issues with Pakistan. We have boundary issues with China. We have boundary issues with even Bangladesh. We have fisherman issue with Sri Lanka as well. And now I am going to Middle East part. From the time immemorial, from 1979, we have Iran-Iraq war. We have Syrian crisis. We have Libyan crisis. Even now, in the recent newspaper, we came to know about the Saudi Arabia attacked Yemen with the help backed by the US Army. Even Pakistan Army was also part of that. And no one can forget the issue of Palestine as well as Palestine and Israel. And now, what are the causes behind all this? The causes are when the two powerful nations like Soviet Union and the US came to support a particular nation which have their different ideology. Then this situation occurs. And the second one, when the nationalism went to the extreme case, then these things occurs. And now I want to give you the solution of this problem. The solution lies in the West. As we all know, there is European Union. European Union is a political economic union in which there is free movement of people, there is free movement of goods, services. They have their own currency. They have the common currency known as euro. So they are very intelligent people. After the 1945, they thought that the extreme nationalism is going to eat up the whole euro. So they thought that we should make an alliance for the military alliance. They make European Union for the military alliance purpose, for the external affair purpose, for the economic purpose, so that they should not be indulged with the issue like defense and all that, because they have the common army. They concentrated on the development infrastructure, research. So that's why they are on the leading front, and they did a very good job by having a treaty with US and Canada as well, which we all know as NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. By that they go for the military alliance. Under that treaty, there is one very good statement is that if any foreign country attack any one of the member country of NATO, then it will be considered an attack on the whole country. So this is the reason why they go for this European Union and NATO as well. So by seeing all this, why can't we have a Korean Union? Why can't we have Asian Union in which China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka will have military alliance, will have economic alliance, everything else? Why can't we have especially the Middle East Union, in which all the oil exporting countries, they will have a very good military alliance. They will have very good control on exporting of oils. And the main reason why US and the Soviet Union are eyeing on Middle East because of oil. Because if they have their alliance, then this will make them stronger. No one, even Europe, cannot dare to challenge the Middle East Union for Asian Union, for Korean Union, and all these things. So in this way, I would like to conclude my debate that the world should eye on this extreme form of nationalism by the solution as making the union, making the Asian Union, making the Middle East Union, making the Korean Union as well. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Yasir. So this was Yasir Azmi from B.tech third year, was speaking in favor of the motion, that is, nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood. Now, I would like to invite the next participant, Mohd Ibrahim Tadri. Is he present here? Mohd Ibrahim Tadri, Faculty of Arts. Okay. So the next participant is Mohammad Zama Sheikh, B.tech third year. Mohammad Zama Sheikh.
With the permission of chair, I speak in favor of the motion. When you are in government and ask your people that do you support our policy, most probably they will say that we don't support your policy. Instead of going that way, you say it is a matter of national security, it is a matter of national privilege, it is a matter of national pride. You can do anything, add any word in the name of nation and ask them that do you support our policy, and they will say yes, we do support your policy. Because it is a matter of nation, without going through any rational analysis, without going through any rational thinking that there is any need of that policy or not. I have found the same tone in today's supporters of nationalism, when they are begging for the nationalism, when they are not able to give any idea about what is nationalism and how it is helpful for the nation, and how it is not a threat to global peace and brotherhood. When we talk about peace and brotherhood, the basic foundation on which these two things lie are equality and respect for others. But when we find the history of nationalism, we find that nationalism is deeply rooted in racism. We find that nationalism is a belief in which you believe the superiority of yourself, the superiority of your ideology, the superiority of your nation. And this superiority often takes the form of despise, hate, intolerance towards the other ideology, towards the other nation, which eventually take forms of clashes, bloodshed, death, massacres, wars, obviously leading to a threat to global peace and brotherhood. In fact, This would have been a very definitive statement about nationalism. But the truth is, nationalism is far more dangerous than these things. Actually, in this idea of nation above everything, the truth is, everything which is otherwise unjustified and unacceptable is justified in the name of nationalism. And history has been evident of these things. The massacres of millions of people in Germany by Hitler was done in the name of nationalism, as has been rightly pointed out by the previous speakers. The massacres of millions of people by Stalin in Russia was all done in the name of nation. In fact, today, there are many countries who have snatched the rights of their people in the name of protecting their nation. Today, a revolution which brought democracy first time in Egypt is being killed for the name of nation, which eventually you find after rational analysis that there is nothing to do with nationalism. In fact, the claim that nation is everything can very well found the truth of this claim, that when this nationalism said that nation is everything, above religion, above creed, above color, above caste, then what is white nationalism? What is black nationalism? What is Hindu nationalism, the recently term coined by our own Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi? I will just pick this last term, Hindu nationalism. What does it mean? The first justification came is, he is a Hindu and therefore he is a nationalist, so Hindu nationalism. I must ask them that whether he is a Hindu and the nationalism approach says that the nation is above everything, what is the need to include this term Hindu? The second justification came as since we are all Indians, and being an Indian, we are culturally Hindu. Well, the logic was, I think, they would have thought of. But a single question today. What is the need to classify yourself as a Hindu nationalism? There must be, in that case, there must be existing the American nationalism, French nationalism, or at least Pakistani nationalism in our own country. Then you need to classify yourself as a Hindu nationalism. And the third one is Hindu nation endearism. And that is actually I find it is not necessary to classify so many things on the Hindu nation endearism. This is actually the hypocrisy of this term nationalism. What you try to eliminate actually comes into this nationalism and justified in the name of nationalism, and the other minorities are being oppressed. The nationalism, often in justifying their ideology, go towards those in the power, and the minorities are silent. In fact, in today's world, terrorism and many other wars have been caused of nationalism. Zionism was only the result of this nationalism, in which hundreds and thousands of people, the children were killed in Palestine in the name of nationalism. The Zionism terrorism is justified in the name of nationalism because they were desperate to create a Jewish nation, a nation for Jewish people. In fact, giving a bad name to Jews as well for their own political agendas. The worst thing which nationalism do is, it actually kills the rationality to think about everything. When you are an Indian, you are supposed to support the police whether the massacres in Hashimpur. And when you are an Indian, you are supposed to afaspa whether how many women are raped in Quran Pashkura, how many innocents are killed in Kashmir. You are bound to support the afaspa. You are bound to support the Indian army. When you are an American, you are bound to support the Iraqi war. How many are killed, it does not matter. When you are a Jew in Israel, you are bound to support the killings of children in Palestine in the name of national security. When you are a German in the Hitler's regime, you are bound to support the Holocaust. When you are a Russian in the time of Stalin, you are bound to support the killings and massacres of hundreds of people because you are supposed to do it in the name of nation. I will just point and give this house in the hint. Yes, all these things have been named in the name of nation, but actually a rational analysis gave that they have nothing to do with nation. I end with Adolf Hitler saying, I end with Albert Einstein saying that nationalism is an infantile disease.
Now, moving further, I would like to invite one of the participants, Mr. Shazim Khan. What is your post, Shazim?
Post B.tech, petrochemical second year. It is my India, your Pakistan and their China. I am a nationalist. I am blinded and I will be acting as a puppet. I will be controlled and I will be manipulated by the wolves sitting in the parliamentary house craving for power. I would devour, I would oppress and I would annihilate those who are different than me. I would oppress those on the basis of color, religion and nation. I follow nationalism. For those of you who do not understand sarcasm and for my opponents which are so mundane-minded, let me simplify. Nationalism is nothing but power hunger tempered by self-deception. By the permission of Honorable Chairman, I would like to stand firm for the motion on the topic Nationalism, a threat to global peace and brotherhood. The topic, when argued upon, falls and crumbles. And it crumbles and shatters pretty bad. So allow me to pick it up in slow motion and shatter it again for you guys. Mr. Chairman, born from inequality, convicted in sins, the spirit of nationalism has always never ceased to bend human institution. It has never ceased to bend human institution for services of depression and distress. My dear Chairman, my dear audience, it has never been that nationalism has never been used to propagandate over different nations. It has been used as a tool. It has been used as a device for creating their own agendas. It has been used as a device by the government, by the dictators and by the politicians to turn the minds of the people. A wise man once said that learn from the past and plan the future. And our past is the witness. Then whenever nationalism has been practiced, whenever we have applied the laws of nationalism, it has been atrocity, there has been disasters, there has been war, and there has been genocide. So what do we learn? Nationalism is bad. And let me prove it to you with some of my examples. The first example is of World War II. The major cause of World War II, or the major reason, the root of the World War II was the nationalism. The nationalism drawn by Adolf Hitler. Yes, my dear friends, yes, Mr. Chairman, Adolf Hitler convinced the people, he convinced the nation that they have not picked a straight stick. He convinced that their pride, their nation has been struck pretty badly, and to achieve and reform the pride of their nation, hundreds of people marched into their deaths. They marched into distress and disaster. And what happened next, we all know. Houses were burned, nations were bombarded, and women's raped, men killed, and young lives slaughtered. This is the true face of nationalism. Moreover, the Iraq and Iran war, the so-called noble President Bush, in the name of pride and honor of the nation, in the name of the security of the nation, invaded a poor country, invaded a country stricken with poverty and otherwise helpless. They said that we did this to see and find the weapons of mass destruction, which of course were never found. And when we asked, what were you doing there for the next decades? They say, it was for nationalism. Nationalism is used to justify the lust, the greed of USA for oil. Moreover, let's head towards our country. Let's take the example of our country. I don't understand why my opponents are so blinded, why they are so delusional that they are not able to understand the clear and obvious plot of the government and different politicians. I do not understand why do not they see that at the time of election, it is only at the time of elections that the neighboring countries become a major cause of terrorism. They do not see that it is politics and elections that our Muslim brothers and sisters, our Hindus and Muslim brothers and sisters, which all here at peace becomes arch enemies. It is election. At the time of election, the Al-Qaeda becomes active. I don't know how does this happen. They use nationalism. They inculcate nationalism and the feeling of pride for one's nation as vote banks. They use this to get votes and to reach a higher power. Moreover, I would like to bring into account another argument that nationalism brings peace. It brings people together, it joins them. My dear friends, you're confusing it. My dear opponents, you're confusing it with patriotism. Patriotism is when one considers his nation first, and nationalism is when the differences of other is hated. Respected Chairman, it has been seen that the nationalism and its aspects has always been the reason for genocide. What happened in the Holocaust, what happened in Armenia, the tragedy of Randava, and the tragedies which are happening in USA with its citizens, all reason is nationalism. Moreover, people say that nationalism brings collective ideology. I say nationalism destroys it. Because, see, we do not choose where we are born. We do not choose where to live. So why be proud of it? In the end, I would like to conclude by a very famous quote of Albert Einstein, that it is nationalism that is a measle for mankind. Until and unless it is sent out of the window, the mankind will be destroyed. Thank you.
Now, the next participant is Ms. Yusra Mira from B.tech. Yusra Mira.
Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to all. Yusra Mira, student of B.tech first year, is going to express my views in favor of the topic of the debate: nationalism, a threat to global peace and brotherhood. But before proceeding to my topic, I would first like to introduce my audience what actually nationalism is. What comes first in mind when you heard the word nationalism? My dear friends, nationalism is basically a belief that nation will benefit from acting independently rather than collectively, emphasizing national rather than international good. Now, I would like to present before you a few words of the great comedian George Carlin. According to him, I could not understand ethnic or national pride, because to me, pride should be reserved for something that you achieve or attain on your own, not something that you happens by accident or birth. According to my opinion, being Indian is not a skill, it is a genetic fucking accident. You wouldn't say, I am proud to be 5'11". So, why would you be proud to be Indian, or Irish, or American, or Italian, or anything else? Now the time comes where the people have to group together to stay safe. Loyalty to one's own society makes sense. However, this is not the case anymore. Now, I have a strong belief that nationalism was one of the dangerous tools. I would like to present before you the two strong arguments that why we consider nationalism dangerous for society. First, it allows the government to control the entire nation on the premise of national pride. Nationalism is used for centuries as a propaganda tool to but the world. According to my opinion, instead of focusing how to improve the entire nation, we must focus on how to improve entire humanity as a whole. My dear friends, imagine we are the people living. Now, if we put all the people together in one room, then obviously it becomes a world. Now, you people tell me, what would work better? A group of people who were full of self-pride and disturbed towards one another, or a group of people who took entire nation among themselves and maintained brotherhood and global peace among themselves. Now, I would like to proceed myself into the second part of my topic, that is how nationalism affects global peace. I will make it simple. Nationalism was created at the expense of religion. Religion in the past has been used to control the population. Now, I would like to sum up my debate by saying that nationalism was a dangerous tool and it was a great threat to be reckoned with. It has been used to control the minds of millions of people against logical reasoning. And this is because it appeals to one's own idea.
From B.tech. Now, the next participant is Mr. Ahmed Zamir.
Respected jury members, my seniors and dear friends, Assalamu alaikum. The topic of today is arguably one of the most fascinating discussions within the global politics. For it's a topic that affects the lives of millions around the world today. It's a topic studying which many lessons may be learned and many extraordinary examples may be derived. And I stand against the motion. Now I have heard so many definitions of, actually atrocious definitions of nationalism, that I myself being afraid standing here as a nationalist. Nationalism is actually the ideology of being attached, of feeling attached to one's nation. It's a strong feeling of being attached to one's nation. Now a society, a diverse society, wherein there are multicultural and multi-religious people living in, what's the thing that binds them together? For we know, every society to grow up, there must be unity. Unity is the substructure of development. And how will you create a sense of unity within multicultural and multi-religious societies? It's perhaps those physical boundaries on the maps, someone noted. Those physical boundaries on the maps that instigate a sense of unity among its people. We as Indians, we feel pride in being Indian. Okay, we feel pride in being Indian, and so do other people do, so do other nationalities do. Now, we know that being unanimous is a point of, being unanimous means being united is one of the things which causes us to be strong. Now let's move. One of my worthy opponents said that nationalism is actually not very supportive of diversity. We in this country of ours, every 15th of August, every year, a Hindu stands beside a Muslim, stands beside a Christian, stands beside a Sikh to salute those who were killed in the 1947. And we salute those, we don't call them as killed, we call them as martyrs. They are martyrs, they were not killed, they were martyrdom. We have uplifted them from the level of dying to the level of martyrdom, and this is not some small thing. So, diversity and nationalism, they go hand in hand. Sorry. Our country is the best example. We, on every 15th of August, every year we salute them. Why? It was the nationalism that caused them to give their lives for this nation of ours. And we salute them. So how can we say that diversity is not supported by nationalism? Moving ahead. We say nationalism is actually too atrocious. It's a cause of atrocities. If nationalism had been a cause of atrocities, those Syrians who have sought refuge within Lebanon at present should have been chased out of Lebanon because of the nationalism of Lebanese people. But it has not been there. You go and see, Lebanese are also helping the Syrians because of the Syria war. Nationalism, who says nationalism is so atrocious, no? Now, see, I have the other side of the coin. We are actually, the global politics is not something too easy to understand. Those who rule this world don't keep it so simple for us to understand and make something out of it. We have to synchronize, analyze, and then capitalize on those points. They wrap up it so that we don't see the core inside. It's only the political and economic motives of people that are actually ruining this world, not nationalism. It's the economic and political motives, not nationalism. We know it very well that those of you who have read psychology, they know that man is the building block of society. What an individual feels, I am a student, even if I become a king, I'll still be a man. I'll have all those feelings within me which I have at present. So I would like to fulfill them by any means. At that time, I would definitely have something of more, I would have authority. And when I have authority, I would definitely do it. Hitler, he broke into Soviet Union because he wanted to rule over all of the Europe. He says himself, he wanted to rule over all of the Europe. He knew he could not have, if it was under nationalism, he could not magnify that part of Germany. He wanted to rule. It was the political motives. The British, they came here not because of their love for their country too much. They came here for economic motives, and they stayed there. After defeating Arshad Warsi, they stayed there because they knew that there is a very good, bright economic future in India. So it's the political and economic motives, not that exact sense of nationalism. Nationalism is actually something which lifts up. Now, we in Aligarh are debating this topic, whether nationalism is a threat to global peace and not. While we are ourselves fully safe from the nationalism of people of China, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they are not attacking us just because they feel too strongly for their nation. Okay, so we have to think over it that the points which we ourselves love our nation. And some of them said that it's related with racism. No, nationalism has nothing to do with racism. I as a Muslim am too proud of my India. You as a Hindu are too proud of our country. What is racism here? A black and a white both are proud of being in UK and they say it very well. So how can we say that we cannot relate it with racism? And we cannot relate, we have to go by the definition, what the definition is, and then we have to know what is in reality the things are. Because again, people themselves want to rule. And they pull it, and they tend to drag in nationalism so that they would cover up their things. They could cover up their tasks, so that, and they could throw it towards the nation. Now I summarize. In 1867, Canada got independence from UK. In 1901, Australia got independence from UK. In 1978, Bahrain got independence from UK. It was the nationalism that made all of us to get united and to stand up against those. So nationalism is not a threat to global peace. It's one of the ways to move up together and once you move up together, you don't think as making any war in this world. It's all peace. It's all peace. So those who love nationalism, they live it and they show it to the world. Thank you.
So this was Ahmad Zabi who was speaking against the first person. जैसा मैंने शुरू में कहा था कि जाहिर है कि मैं एक होस्ट हूँ, एक ऑर्गेनाइजर हूँ, तो मैं इस पर कुछ बोल नहीं सकता केवल प्रमोशन या अगेंस्ट प्रमोशन. बट जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं तो जो इंटेंसिटी है वर्ड्स की, जो टॉपिक के बारे में वो बढ़ता जा रहा है और जो है मेरे अंदर जो पेशेंस है, जो सब्र है, वो जो है ख़त्म होता जा रहा है कि मैं भी कुछ बोलूँ इस टॉपिक पे, मैं भी कुछ कहूँ. हमेशा से जो है I wish that ऐसे टॉपिक में कुछ बोलूँ नेशनलिज्म के, but one of the participants earlier said that why question mark. So just I want to make clear, I can't say anything in favor of the motion or against the motion. एक participant ने कहा कि ये क्वेश्चन मार्क इसमें क्यों रखा गया है, नेशनलिज्म और थ्रेट टू ग्लोबल पीस इन ब्रदरहुड, फुल स्टॉप में. मैं बता देना चाहता हूँ कि ये हमने फुल स्टॉप ही रखा था और इस टॉपिक को वो जो बीच में वो रखे गए हैं वो पूरा कंप्लीट जो हमने शुरू में रखा था उसका टॉपिक था नेशनलिज्म इज अ थ्रेट टू ग्लोबल पीस एंड ब्रदरहुड. क्वेश्चन मार्क भी नहीं था, फुल स्टॉप था और बीच में जो है इज भी था, नेशनलिज्म इज अ थ्रेट. बट जैसा मैंने शुरू में बताया कि एक कवर फोटो लगाने पे कॉल्स आ जाती हैं और देश का गद्दार कह दिया जाता है. तो उसी वक्त जो है जब ये टॉपिक रखा गया तो मेरे पास भी कुछ कॉल्स हैं. जाहिर है मैं वो सारी बातें यहाँ पे शेयर नहीं कर सकता और मैंने शुरू में कहा कि मैं बहुत अपने आप को अच्छा महसूस करता हूँ, स्ट्रॉन्ग महसूस करता हूँ कि ऐसे दौर में जो है जब वतन परस्ती को खुदा बना दिया जाए तो उस वक्त जो है अल्लाह ताला ने मुझे स्ट्रेंथ दिया या कुव्वत दी कि मैं इस टॉपिक को चूज़ करूँ और जो लोग जो बातें जिनके दिलों में थी वो छुपी हुई थी वो निकल के आ गई, आज वो सामने सारी चीज़ें आ गई. तो मैं उस बात को बस जाहिर है कि मैं ना फेवर मोशन में बोल सकता हूँ ना अगेंस्ट मोशन. वो अलग बात है कि मेरा सब्र खत्म होता जा रहा है, लेकिन मैं उस बात को क्लियर करना चाह रहा था कि वो क्वेश्चन मार्क नहीं था, फुल स्टॉप भी था और इज अ थ्रेट भी था. बट वो कुछ चीज़ें ऐसी हुई कि जो है वो करना पड़ा. तो खैर आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं अगले पर्सन को दावत देना चाहता हूँ. उनका नाम है मिस्टर सैयद फराज, अगर वो प्रेजेंट हैं. सैयद फराज. नो. द नेक्स्ट पर्सन इज मिस्टर तुषार अग्रवाल. प्रेजेंट हियर? नो. The next participant, Tayyab Mohsin.
So the last person, we have last person, Ms. Kavya Mishra, B.tech first year. Kavya Mishra, please.
आदरणीय उपस्थित महानुभाव, निर्णायकगण व मेरे प्रिय साथियों, मैं काव्या मिश्रा। आज की इस वाद विवाद प्रतियोगिता का विषय है राष्ट्रवाद, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति व भाईचारे के लिए खतरा। सदन के इस मत के विरोध में मैं अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करना चाहूंगी। मैं सदन के इस मत से कतई सहमत नहीं हूँ। यह एक ऐसा विषय है जो नितांत ही अस्वाभाविक है। यदि राष्ट्रवाद से अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति और भाईचारे को खतरा है, तो क्या हमें राष्ट्रवाद को ही समाप्त कर देना चाहिए? ऐसा होना ना ही संभव है और ना ही स्वाभाविक है। यह जानना अति आवश्यक है कि राष्ट्रवाद है क्या। राष्ट्र के प्रति हमारी आस्था, हमारा प्रेम, यह आस्था सदैव ही रही है, सदैव ही रहेगी। राष्ट्र क्या है? क्या सिर्फ एक भूमि के टुकड़े को राष्ट्र कहा जाता है? नहीं, राष्ट्र एक निश्चित भूभाग है जिस पर कई लोग करोड़ों वर्षों से साथ में रहते हैं। साथ में रहने के कारण उनमें समानताएं उत्पन्न होती हैं। वह अलग जाति, अलग धर्म के होने के बावजूद अपनत्व की भावना महसूस करते हैं तथा वह राष्ट्रवाद ही तो है जो उन्हें एक सूत्र में बांधता है। तथा आज हम जानते हैं कि वर्तमान युग में आने जाने के साधन उत्पन्न हो गए हैं। इन साधनों के कारण अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर लेन देन कई गुना बढ़ा है, चाहे वे सांस्कृतिक हो, चाहे वे आर्थिक हो। आज हमारे देश के करोड़ों लोग विदेशों में रहते हैं तथा विदेशों के कई भिन्न देशों के लोग हमारे देश में रहते हैं। हर जगह का अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण, दैट इज इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन हो रहा है। यानी ऐसी कई अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संस्थाएं हैं जो सभी देशों की राजनीतिक व्यवस्था, अर्थव्यवस्था, शिक्षा व्यवस्था, इन सब का इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन कर रही हैं। तथा कई दूरदृष्टि लोगों का तो ये भी कहना है कि वो समय दूर नहीं जब वन वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट या वर्ल्ड विदाउट नेशनल फ्रंटियर के बारे में सोचा जाएगा। राष्ट्रों का अस्तित्व सदैव रहा है, सदैव रहेगा। और ये जो आइडिया है वर्ल्ड विदाउट नेशनल फ्रंटियर, मेरे मत में अभी ये कुछ दूर है, परंतु राष्ट्रों का अस्तित्व रहेगा तो राष्ट्रवाद तो रहेगा ही। सदन का मत इस अर्थ में अधूरा है कि राष्ट्रवाद हमारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति व भाईचारे के लिए खतरा है। जो खतरा है वो राष्ट्रवाद नहीं है, वो राष्ट्रवाद का उग्र रूप है, वो विकृत रूप है राष्ट्रवाद का खतरा। अगर हम ऐतिहासिक परिदृश्य में देखें तो जर्मनी के तानाशाह हिटलर व उसके राजनीतिक सहयोगियों ने मिलकर वहां के निवासियों के मस्तिष्क में यह भरना प्रारंभ किया कि तुम तो आर्यों की टेक्टोनिक शाखा हो, तुम तो इतने महान हो कि मानो ईश्वर ने तुम्हें धरती पर राज करने के लिए ही उत्पन्न किया हो तथा तुम्हें उस ईश्वर की इच्छा का पालन करना चाहिए। यदि कोई सबल राष्ट्र किसी निर्बल राष्ट्र को अपने अधिकार में लेता है तो वो इसके ऊपर किसी तरह से अन्याय नहीं करता, बल्कि वो तो उसके ऊपर एक उपकार करता है, क्योंकि अब वो भी उस सबल राष्ट्र का हिस्सा है। इस प्रकार अपने देशवासियों के हृदय में कूट कूट कर जहर भर दिया और उसका कारण क्या हुआ? द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध। ये इस तरह की सोच, इस तरह की भावना अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर शांति के लिए खतरा है। आज का युग वर्तमान युग है। आज का युग प्रजातंत्र का युग है, धर्मनिरपेक्षता, व्यक्तिगत स्वतंत्रता का युग है। आज हम सब हमारा देश तथा कई देश प्रजातंत्र को ही मान रहे हैं। अगर हम पुरातन काल में जाएं तो तब छोटे छोटे देश हुआ करते थे, कुछ बड़े भी, तो वो एक राष्ट्र धर्म घोषित कर दिया करते थे तथा उसी राष्ट्र धर्म को माना करते थे। परंतु आज प्लूरलिज्म का जमाना है। आज कई जाति, धर्म, समुदाय, सभी लोग एक साथ मिलकर रहते हैं। परंतु अफसोस की बात यह है कि आज भी कुछ थियोक्रेटिक स्टेट्स हैं जो जबरन वहां के लोगों को मजबूर करते हैं कि वो वही धर्म माने या वही मत माने, वही सोच रखे, जबकि वो वैसी सोच नहीं रखना चाहते हैं। उनको मारते हैं या न मानने वालों की हत्या कर दी जाती है। तो मेरा मानना यह है कि ये सोच हमारी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति के लिए खतरा है। अंत में मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि सौम्य राष्ट्रवाद जो सह अस्तित्व में विश्वास रखता है, कभी भी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय शांति के लिए खतरा नहीं हो सकता। मैं यह जोड़ना चाहूंगी कि हम एक समुदाय में रहते हैं, हमारा एक धर्म है, हमारा एक पड़ोस है, हमारा परिवार है तथा उसके प्रति हमारा प्रेम है, हमारी आस्था है। परंतु वो आस्था हमसे कभी नहीं कहती कि दूसरे धर्मों के प्रति या दूसरे समुदाय के प्रति द्वेष की भावना रखी जाए या हिंसा की भावना रखी जाए। असल में यही सच्चा सेक्युलरिज्म है, यही डेमोक्रेसी की आत्मा है। धार्मिक जातीय प्रजातीय सद्भाव, live and let live. Thank you.
Moving further, this was not the actually last participant. We have two more participants. So now I'd like to request Mr. Ahmad Maz, B.tech second year. Ahmad Maz, please.
Honorable Chair, my dear friends, Assalamu alaikum, good to see you all. As we know, as we are having a debate about nationalism, a threat to universal peace and global peace and universal brotherhood. As most of the participants here has spoken in favor of the topic, I too am going to speak in favor of this topic. A crude definition of nationalism would be supporting one's own nation. And as we can see, an in-depth study of this of global peace and universal brotherhood will make us think that nationalism is diametrically opposed to global peace and universal brotherhood. If we dig deeply, we will realize that these two are poles apart. Global peace and universal brotherhood implies equality of everyone, whether it be on the basis of race, class, or country. But nationalism, in its very definition, assumes that some individuals are more equal than others, that we have preferences, that my nation's interest lies above other nations' interest. And the Greek philosopher once pointed, I am neither Athenian nor Greek, but I am a citizen of the world. And that is the attitude one must adopt in this life. That's what will create real peace in this world. Most of the nationalist people here out and anywhere in the world have certain notions and dogma in their brain. They have a certain and unilateral vision of nationalism. They feel that in their country, all men are equal, justice is blind, the press is free, their vote counts, and there is equality before the law, everything is going to be just fine. That's the official national bullshit story that's been repeated and pounded upon our brains since childhood, and children are unable to mount up sophisticated arguments against this type of propaganda, and so they grow up believing all this stuff that's been pounded on their head. To quote an Irish playwright, John Bernard Shaw, he said that nationalism is the conviction that your country is superior to all other countries just because you were born in it. Being Indian or Pakistani or whatever isn't a skill to be proud of. And what actually nationalism has given to this world is wars, famines on other people's land, slavery, subjugation, colonialism, all the world wars of the 20th century. To quote Arundhati Roy, she says that nationalism of one kind or another has invariably led us to all the genocides of the 20th century. Nationalism boils down our mental capability and rationality to this simple motto, my nation, right or wrong. And Professor Robert Pape of the University of Chicago studied every case of suicide terrorism in a span of around 40 years, or 40 to 50 years, and he said that the root cause of terrorism is nationalism. The nationalism can grow into such a disease that in Nazi Germany, the people generally believed that either they had a hatred for Jesus because he was a Jew, or they believed in a Nordic Jew, in a Nordic Jesus having Nordic origins, and they disliked the Jesus of Israel. This is what nationalism does to us, and any of the good things which have been pointed out in the name of nationalism today, or anywhere in any debates that happen all around the world, can boil down to simple moral reasons. You don't need nationalism to make the world better, and nationalism doesn't help at all. If I am an Indian and I go abroad and I go there for a job, and the society I want to improve, so the nationalist feeling will be a hurdle in my way, because I might think that I'm an Indian, I'm here to make money, and I'm not, and improving the society is none of my business. But if I have moral considerations, and I think that as a global citizen, I should support the country and I should strive and endeavor to make the city better, make this place better, then that is what the attitude should be. Nationalism can only prove a hurdle. And moving on, most of the people who are the proponents of nationalism today are the very same people, and they're the guys who unfortunately are wearing Levi's jeans, jockey vest, Samsung mobile with Vodafone network, and they're watching Christopher Nolan movies, listening to American songs on iPad, Apple laptops, and saying that I'm proud to be an Indian. This is pure irony and hypocrisy on their part to say that they are nationalists at the same time while they are loving all the foreign products. In the end, I would like to conclude that Neil Armstrong, when he went to the moon, although he planted the American flag, but he said, this is one giant leap for man, this is one step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And he did not say, this is one giant leap for America. This is the attitude we should be, and this is the attitude which will bring us much needed peace that we need right now. So,
this was Ahmed Maaz. Now we have last participant, Mr. Arafat. Mr. Arafat, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arshad Hussain, and I am going to speak about nationalism as a threat to global peace and brotherhood. Now, what is nationalism? Nationalism is a political creed which relates somebody with its nation's identity. Now, nationalism has been of many kinds. One can be pre-ordealist or one can be modernist. Now, pre-ordealists are those people who belong to the ethnic group and they want to save their community and provoke their community for many reasons, and they want to reject the minority. And the modernists are those who look for the profit from the society and don't believe in these ethnic groups and religious communities. Now, this has been a topic which relates the past. Now, people, when a child is born, people think mothers and fathers, they teach their child about the historic past of their glorious religions and many other things. Now, when a child learns that his religion is so glorious and I am just going to follow it blindly. Now, when a child thinks like this, he will just propagate his religion. And when he propagates his religion, he will not consider the minority or many other things that are related to the society. Now, this topic, nationalism, helps us in relating ourselves to the minority. Don't neglect the minority, live with it, live with majority as well. Now, people are, they consider themselves into three categories, that is taking use of it, making use of the profit of minority status and reservation. Now majority says, oh, this is just making use and just making, they want to uplift their society. Yes, there is a need. Look around the country, you will see people just living in misery. The minority is living in misery, and there is no need of reservation. Yes, there is a need of reservation. There is a need to look at a different perspective. The look in which the minority will be given a status. Now, if you think the other side of this topic, that is living with peace with the minority and majority. Now, it is a modernistic thinking that people will live together and just look for the profit of the organizations. Now, this is the future generation thinking, but this can't be, this is just a assumption, or many can think just a real way of moving forward. Nationalism is a hard feeling. Let me clear this, because living in a society where a diversity of religions can exist, there is a real possibility there will be a majority and there will be a minority, and there will be a majority will be dominating the minority. And look at the examples are the Tamilians and the Sinhalese. They lived for years, about 50 years, and then the time came that the Sinhalese destructed the Tamilians and just destroyed them, and they didn't thought of a minority living with a way of thinking of human rights has to be a part of nationalism. Now people just using these issues for political interest and summarizing their views as we have to strengthen our movement. They say Hindutva movement, etc. movements. They just want to strengthen their idealistic thinking and nothing. This is just a political interest they do. It is just a political interest which favors them. So at the end, I want to say that listening to Maulana Uddin Owaisi, Praveen Togaria, they just don't make them heroes. They are not your heroes. If a society is getting happy at Muhammad Shami taking a wicket for India, and Muslims and Hindus are both happy for it, then that is the near nationalism. Look at your Aadhaar card. Look at your Aadhaar card. Don't see that my profile picture is blood or etc. Just see the tricolor above the Aadhaar card. That will define your real nationalism. Thanks.
The next participant is Mr. Taha, B.tech first year.
Respected judges and my dear friends, a very good evening to one and all. Today I am here to speak on the topic, nationalism is a global threat to brotherhood and peace. I am strongly for the topic. But first of all, let's classify what nationalism really is. Wikipedia classifies nationalism as an ideology, belief or creed that involves an individual becoming attached to one's nation. Now some of you might think what's wrong with an individual associating with one's country. Shouldn't we be proud of our country? Shouldn't we associate with our country? After all, our country has given us everything we have. It has given us a place to live, a place to work, a place to study, food to fill our stomachs, and countless other resources. It was in fact, some of you might argue, nationalism that propelled us to independence. Then why are we even debating the thing that nationalism is a threat to global peace and brotherhood? Because my friends, if you are actually questioning this, it's because you are confusing nationalism with patriotism. It is true that both are affinity for one's country, but they are two sides of the same coin. A patriot actually loves his country, but he is also accepting of his country's flaws and wants to improve his country. He doesn't just love his country, he loves the people in it. He loves the people all around the world, in fact. You can consider nationalism as an evil twin of patriotism. It is formed on the basis of a superiority complex, that we are superior to some other race or country. It only includes those who identify with a particular belief or ideology and reject those who reject them. In short, it is an oppressive and exclusive view of the world. Now I'm going to give you a few examples which will clarify how nationalism affects us all. Consider this. Whenever India and Pakistan play a World Cup match, we are all fueled with nationalism. We all, people from both sides of the country actually, are fueled with nationalism, and they abuse each other continuously and ferociously in the name of nationalism. Just in the name of nationalism. Now, to all my cricket fans, I want to ask this question. While it is okay to indulge in a bit of banter, while it is okay to just pull the leg sometimes, is it okay to abuse each other? The answer is a resounding no. The only difference with our countries is that we are separated by one border. A border which was created by separatist leaders who couldn't take a neutral and wiser view of the situation back in the 1940s. Had they taken a wiser view, our countries wouldn't be divided today. Had they taken a wiser view, Pakistan wouldn't be a failed state today. Had they taken a wiser view, India wouldn't have been facing the problems of terrorism from Pakistan that it faces these days. Had they taken a wiser view, India wouldn't have faced 26/11. Now consider the case of North and South Korea, who have been fighting for supremacy in the Korean Peninsula for decades now. India and Pakistan are not the only countries which have so many similarities and are fighting. North and South Korea do too. They have a very similar set of culture, they have very similar set of people, but they are just separated by ideologies. In fact, North Korea is so determined to defeat South Korea and become dominant that it can spend its entire resources on becoming a nuclear power. Entire resources. And I'm not kidding. If you go to North Korea and you survey the country for yourself, it will look like it was stuck in 1985. People do not have the basic amenities. They can't own a car. They can't access the internet. They don't have basic amenities. They can't criticize their leaders, in fact. And the worst part is, they sometimes believe that the leaders are planning great things for them. That maybe conquering the entire Korean Peninsula will solve all their problems. Their head is just filled with nationalistic propaganda. They can't see that their country is just delusional. They are living in delusions. Now, actually, there won't be any prizes for guessing that what was the First and Second World War. A lot of my contemporaries today, my wiser contemporaries, reference the Second World War today. Let me take you back a little further. In the 1910s, there was a huge ethnic sentiment among the people, among the tribes across Europe, and they all wanted to form a nation. In fact, there were a lot of colonial powers who wanted to expand their territories in the name of nationalism. What happened next was a showdown between these ethnic communities and these colonial powers. Not just among them, they fought among themselves as well to gain supremacy. What resulted was the First World War, when Archduke Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated. After the First World War, Germany was entirely